Hello, everybody. Hello, 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 and welcome to yet another podcast from Space and Time magazine. My name is Ryan Aussie Smith, and this is Angela Yuriko Smith, and we've got a few things that we want to chat to you guys about today.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. We're kind of getting back to the point of this podcast, which was to share the stories and poems that everybody's sending it to us. So we haven't had time to do that yet because we've had so much kind of catch up and announcements, but that is what we're going to start with today and moving on. So today we're going to be covering a lot very quickly, but starting next week on June 2nd's podcast, we're going to be actually covering one story, one poem in each issue, because that was the point of this.
Yeah, and so today what we're planning on doing is doing a brief description of, I believe it's stories and poems.
Stories and poems.
So just kind of a brief description of what we liked in each one to give them a little bit of
Sneak peek.
a sneak peek. There you go. That thing. And on top of that, kind of a single line that kind of stood out to each of us when we were reading through them, because there was some cool stuff.
Yeah. And also, this is to honor the people that have sent us the work. These are
Yeah.
fantastic stories and poems, and just cannot say enough good things about them. And so this is our way to say thank you, and your work really matters, and keep doing it.
So what I'm doing right now is I always, there we go. Okay, perfect. It always takes a few seconds for the system to start showing that we've got a live going on, to actually find it, so then we can actually see whether or not there's any questions or anything like that going on. So that's usually why I'm staring at the screens. I'm just like, come on, hurry up.
Tech support.
Yeah, kind of like that. Initially, how do we want to do it? You've got it on your phone, so you can go ahead and read. I can bring it up on this page here. Because this is our issue.
This is this month's May. Yeah, do you want to do prose and then I'll do poetry, or vice versa? I'll do prose and you do poetry?
Well, it's kind of like if one of us is scrolling and moving through it, I have to scroll and find it. So that's a thing.
Well, that's true.
It doesn't go directly to it. If it was hyperlinked in,
Yeah.
then it would be a lot easier. But
the ebook does.
Uh-huh.
And this is our first story.
Um,
Yep, the rocking chair directive.
okay, so
By
you put
Anatoly
it down the
Lodginov.
very bottom.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, that's the notes, and then we're starting with the stories.
Oh, okay, yeah, so it's at the top. All right, I figured it out. Well, I didn't really. So the rocking chair directive. So let me grab this and move it over this way. Yeah, I can pop it here. That way I'm not looking at what I'm looking at. And of course, for some reason, it just disappeared on what I was looking at there. And then we should be good. All right. So the Rocking Chair Directive by Anatoly Lodginov. Is that how it's pronounced?
I guess I'm going to say Lodginov or Lodginov. I'm not sure.
Okay. So it's a story about a combat unit that receives an absolute order to terminate a target, only to discover that the target is an old rocking chair.
I just love that twist.
What begins as a logic failure becomes a profound encounter with stillness, time, and the impossibility of destroying rest. And our favorite line was, "How do you terminate rest?"
Yeah, which was such a good kind of philosophical, yes, I guess death, but then you're dead. That's a lot of rest. Like, so you can't really like kill rest.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that that's your favorite line in it, because that's constantly what you're trying to do. It's like, if I could just terminate the rest, I could get more work done.
I want to not sleep ever.
Yeah.
But that's why this was such a good theme for me. Rest is resistance, because I was like, oh, rest isn't laziness. It's resisting the machine that's telling us that we have to always be on.
Yeah, and rest being resistance, makes you stronger, so you can resist more when you need to.
Yeah.
I guess. All right, so the next one, The Botanist Who Taught Trees to Sleep by David Anderson Lee. You can go ahead and read that.
Sure. And this is a compact poem that was just shining with wordplay, where a botanist teaches the forest to refuse productivity. Again, going on the theme of rest is resistance. The trees become a living barricade, choosing silence, darkness, and rest over constant blooming. And a favorite line from that was, and the trees held their silence. So we kind of think of trees as silent, but they're not really. There's always kind of like leaves blowing and all kinds of chattering around trees and silence that, like, they make a lot of noise. Scientists know trees actually do make a lot of noise. We just are too small and fast to hear them.
Well, and they also communicate with electrical impulses and different things like that. So that is part of it as well. Is you've got to quiet yourself to hear the quiet things in the world. So that's a thing as well. So that a really good line there. All right. So the next one we have a story, The Sabbath Garden by Stephen Jackson. And for this one, on Kempler Station, where every living thing must justify its usefulness, Marin Oitno?
We're really bad at pronouncing names, so forgive us.
I haven't had
I don't know
coffee
either.
today either.
I would say Ochino.
It's kind of like you read the name in your head, and what comes out of your mouth is completely different to what it's like we read it, we don't read it out loud. But Marin secretly grows a jacaranda tree for no productive reason at all. Her small act of trending beauty becomes a quiet rebellion against a system that cannot categorize grace. And our favorite line was, "It blooms purple."
Yeah.
And I think you sent me a picture of...
Yeah, I did send a link to a jacaranda tree. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that.
Jacaranda tree.
Jacaranda, but it actually grows in South America, in Brazil, where we are.
Yeah.
And so I loved the line. That's her justification for why she's growing it. It blooms purple, which isn't a very practical reason, on somebody might say, to grow something, but it is. In this story, it is the practical reason and the importance. So yeah, I had to look it up. We see those all the time around here, these purple trees.
Oh, okay. I need to pay more attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually picked up some blooms the other day and dried them out.
Very cool.
For this story. So well done, Stephen Jackson. You're having me pick up flowers and drying them.
Alrighty.
All right. So next we have Rest is Resistance. Again, apologies, gonna butcher a name. Saroj Kumar Senapati. And this cosmic poem frames rest as a revolutionary force moving through bodies, stars, planets, and dreams. Its resistance is not loud or violent, but patient, generative, and world-making. And a favorite line from this is, resistance is not the clash of swords.
And what does that mean to you?
That it doesn't always have to be an active, violent thing to resist. We think of a lot of times of like a mob mentality of, fight, 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 we're rebelling. But resistance can be a lot quieter, which is kind of the point of this theme, is that we can choose to resist in all kinds of ways to things that we don't want to participate in.
And say like 9 times out of 10 as well, if somebody wants you to be violent, if they're looking for an aggressive output from doing something as reaction, the very act of not doing something, the whole turn the other cheek kind of argument. But yeah, it's a matter of sometimes just pointing out what that person has said or what that person has done or something. I'm thinking as in like a verbal argument, but just letting them sit in it and not outwardly going and being aggressive. Just point out what the situation is and just like, hey, so like, what's going on there? So yeah, I agree with the favorite line. Alrighty, so we have our next one, which was an interesting back and forth. Escalation Path Not Found by Dina Fumaral. So with this one, a surreal support ticket poem unfolds through agents' system messages and impossible environmental reports as fields move, houses speak, stars rearrange, and time misbehaves. The system slowly admits that escalation is impossible because the world itself is learning. And our favorite line from this one was, the moon arrives early, not rising, not setting, waiting.
Yeah. I love this story so much because it is it's kind of reads pretty dry at first, but the meanings of it, they just peel back in layers. And there's so much, it's just a little tech support back and forth kind of on the surface. But the poetry in it is amazing. The things, some of the lines in there, like that one. And there's another one about shadows disappearing and then more shadows show back up. Very, like, Diana kind of goes through the gamut of creepy and beautiful and speculative. This is truly a speculative story.
Yeah, and it's always interesting as well when you distill language down. When you're not describing things in a way that's normal, it adds that air of, I guess it's more alien, it's stranger, it's uncomfortable, and it's open to interpretation. What is that person or that being meaning by this thing? It's like, well, if they're being literal, then we're in trouble. Sort of thing. So yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah, this was a bold experimental story, and I'm gonna say that she nailed it. She did a good job with this.
Alrighty, next one.
So now we have our double truck, which for you people who don't do a bunch of layout stuff and don't care, double truck is 2 images. Well, that's my filler image, so the double truck will work. So if you look in the actual print copy, these 2 are side by side, and the photo is the same. It's underneath a tunnel, and so it meets in the middle. And so this is a Latin-based, but an Italian version of the poem from Matt Bianca, and the English translation as well. So I loved this one because we got to play with art and layout.
Yeah.
But it's also just a really, really good poem. As I said, he presented it in Italian and English, and it gives voice to the overlooked creature beneath the overpass, the witness to the forgotten and the discarded. And it becomes both urban ghost and survivor, claiming its existence in a place designed for everyone to pass through without seeing them. And I love the line on this is my tribute to myself. And it reminded me a lot of this poem. It is speculative. It's talking about a monster under the overpass, but it also could branch over to a lot of current events, like homeless people who are forced on the margins, who are here in the middle of life, but not really being able to participate in it. And in this poem, taking ownership of that and making a tribute to themselves. Yeah, so I really liked it.
Alrighty.
And thank you, Matt, for letting me do a double track.
Alrighty, and the next one, REM Sanctuary by Tamara Lee Berreton, Carabestos. Alrighty, and this was another international writer that came in.
Yeah, and Tamara's on Substack too. So yeah, she's got a really good Substack.
In a city ruled by signal output and relentless participation, an underground sleep clinic offers something more radical than rest. Disconnection through sleep, the narrator discovers the gaps in the system and learns how silence can become a map. And our favorite line was, "We gave you back your silence," which is just very cool. I always like it when something is described in a way that's not traditionally correct. That's why there's certain lines that just, if somebody came up to you and said, "We gave you back your silence," you'd be confused, and then if they just walked away, perfect. The perfect interaction.
And honestly, what a gift in our world where we tend to be very busy and overtaxed. I feel like everybody is a bit overstimulated right now, kind of as I'm trying to think of the word for it, but like a global problem. Like everybody is overstimulated. And so to give you back your silence, to give that gift is kind of, that is resistance.
And also a little bit ominous, but still.
Yeah, it could also be taken the wrong, we give you back your silence.
But alrighty, next one.
All right, so now we've got Fall Back by Kate McNeil. This poem uses the shift of daylight savings time to explore how artificial timekeeping jars the body and the spirit. Beneath the complaint about clocks is a deeper yearning for natural rhythms, rest, and the life not measured in earned increments. And I think we can all kind of get behind that, as we're all tired of being, especially with daylight savings time, kind of pushed along in our schedules. And the favorite line from this was, "We cannot clock the measure of life."
Yeah. Really great line. Yeah.
That's kind of something we're trying to do in Brazil, isn't it? Like trying to get out of the rat race and focus on the things that really, really matter, which is
Yeah.
art, creativity, the things that we're making,
Yeah.
and this magazine.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're ruled by time, it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you are a slave to time, which it's that's why the weekends go so quick because
I know.
you don't look at the clock and then you're like, oh, suddenly it's nighttime. I mean, if you could live like that all the time, wouldn't it be
Yeah.
fantastic? Just doing what you want to do. Alrighty, so our next one is We Speak Our Own Shadows by Daniel Roop. Now, this one, in a village where gifts manifest at a coming of age ritual, a young storyteller learns that her power is not speech alone, but silence. The silence of speaking, hearing, and thought. Where authoritarian pressure tries to rewrite people's stories, she discovers that truth told at the right time is its own magic. And our favorite line was, "We only speak truth." Or we only spoke truth, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, current events.
Yes.
Right? This one really, it's not about current events, but it is about current events. There's so much that can connect to what's happening in the world right now.
We repeat the same mistakes over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing. It's like, yeah, oh, there's songs and there's poems and there's stuff from thousands of years ago. Oh, it's relevant to today. It's like, well, yeah, we need to start learning.
Yeah, stop repeating.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really love this one too.
Mm-hmm.
And great job. I think I've read other work by Daniel Roop elsewhere, and he's
Yeah.
consistently a good storyteller.
Yeah.
So now for poetry, we have Mary Soon Lee with "The God They Trusted Guards Their Graves." And this is it's a sparse, haunting poem about gods, war, grief, and the unevenness of divine power. Its quiet sorrow lingers over the graves of those who trusted, fought, and were lost. And a favorite line from that was, "A small God weeps."
Mm.
And that just really resonated with me because, we think of gods as colossal, huge, magnificent.
Mm.
But yeah, a small God just kind of brought it down to me of I don't know, like the microcosm of that.
Yeah. Well, and it depending on the philosophy that you've got as well, in a lot of Asian cultures, you've got a god of the wheat, this wheat
Yeah.
field, or the god of this particular
Yeah.
temple, and the god of this and that, and yeah, it's just doesn't need to be all encompassing, all everywhere. It's yeah, and
Yeah.
it is a different way of looking at things.
Yeah, I
Which
feel
is very
like he
interesting.
got diminished too by the sorrow
The
of,
difficulties
yeah.
in the world, yeah. Alrighty, so our next one, The Meat Clock Sabotage by Martin Willis. In a future where sleep is criminalized by wasted productivity, one woman's refusal to move begins a cascade of stillness. The rebellion spreads not through violence, but through bodies stopping, machines slowing, and an empire starving by calm. Favorite line? Empires cracked under silence, not shouts.
I feel like we're really kind of dipping into a lot of current events because this reminds me of like the No King's Day type stuff. No
Yeah.
violence, no active, it's not a fight.
Yeah.
It is just stopping and setting that line and, resistance.
Well, and also if you've got companies that literally own everything, billionaires that own everything, what happens when people stop doing things? That's like when everybody gathers together and does something, then,
Yeah.
Even if it's just stopping,
Yeah, like the
it
no
sends
shop.
ripples. Yeah,
No
exactly.
shop days.
Exactly.
So great job, Martin, on that one. Yeah, very eerie atmosphere in that one too. Very calm and eerie.
Yeah, we like eerie.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to make sure that it does get
Hey, Sarah.
a variety. Otherwise, it winds up being all eerie. All eerie, everybody dies. So next up in poetry, we have "In the Future, Sleep is Rationed" by Gabrielle Munslow. And this poem gives us a speaker living under sleep deprivation, which I feel like we can all identify with, as policy, where dreams are contraband and closing one's eyes is a crime. The dream figure who appears becomes a private flicker of life, intimacy, and defiance. And my favorite line was, dreams arrive like contraband. And that really spoke to me as just kind of a, like when you work so hard and you get to steal that, like that little 5 minute cat nap,
Mm.
it's super precious. It feels illegal.
Yeah. Well, and contraband being illegal, it's like,
Hmm.
oh, are dreams illegal? Are you allowed to dream? Are you allowed to? Yeah.
Yeah. Not when sleep is rationed.
Hmm. Absolutely. Sarah had said hello, by the
Oh,
way.
hello, Sarah. Thank you.
Alrighty. So we've got this one, and then another story. The Last 20 Minutes by Beauty Amy. In a world where even sleep is optimized, Priya?
I'd say Priya.
Priya? Yeah. For whatever reason, yeah. Priya protects the hypo. Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna say hypnagogic, but
Hypnagogic.
I mispronounce everything because I sounded out in my
I
head.
really need coffee. Hypnagogic falling before sleep, the last unmonetized borderland of the mind. There she builds a secret inner world with yellow curtains, weather, memory, and freedom. Our favorite line was, "The dream is what you are when no one is measuring." Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that too because it's the part where nobody can touch, this memory that she's created and this reality that can't it's the part of us that we can keep precious without anybody,
Interfering?
yeah,
Monetizing?
interfering, monetizing. Yeah, I was thinking of like so many words like calculating it out.
Mm.
So and it really fit very well in the theme because of that.
Mm.
So, and she did a really good job of balancing kind of the dream, the old school with the dystopian reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah says she loves that poem.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I do too. The poem that we just read.
Alrighty.
All right, next up for poetry, we had the When the Walls Caved In by Amina Abdullah Salam Muhammad. And this is a grief-soaked poem of collapse, survival, and beginning again after catastrophe. Its stillness is not surrender, but a necessary pause that allows something small, green, and alive to answer from the runes. Not runes, but ruins.
Ruins.
And the favorite line from that was, "A child traced tomorrow in ash on a wall," which chills.
Yeah.
I had chills with that.
You literally like anything with a child doing something though. It's it makes it so much more innocent, so much more scary, so much more.
Yeah.
I
But
guess.
also hopeful,
Yeah, yeah.
Ash is destruction, and then a child is creating with the destruction is kind of
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is poetry. It's very very well told. So very very cool. Alrighty. Then we have Give It a Second by Charlie Switzer. A guided tour through a museum of missing art becomes a mind-bending meditation on absence, time travel, revision, and whether what is missing may still shape us. The story turns blank pages and deleted masterpieces into portals of possibility. And our favorite line, "Could you have been someone else?" Which is always an interesting question. The why, the who.
Yeah, this was such a great story to end the whole issue on too, because it's a lighter one, so it's got some humor, which is good. We want to give you a lot of darkness, and then you leave with a smile. But there was so many things to think about this. I've actually read it several times with the whole concept of like, yeah, what is creation? If you delete something in time, you go back in a time machine and delete something, but then you recreate it out of like, oh yeah, because I remember that passage. It's not the same thing anymore, but then where does so if I definitely suggest reading this, but be prepared for a lot of that whole time loop kind of continuum. Well, wait a second, but what if kind of
Yeah.
experience?
Well, that's a good thing though. If you read a story and you have to keep reading it over and over again, and it's something new every time that you read it, that's always a good thing,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a piece that makes you think, and it comes across as very lighthearted and humorous. But when you start really, like, the more you read it, the more you'll think about it, and the more these things and these possibilities will stick with you, and they will haunt you.
Yeah, it's always good to ponder stories. Alrighty, and then our final poetry
Yeah, last up.
was Nothing to Do But Wait by Jennifer Weigel. And this one here, after an alien invasion and planetary loss, this poem reframes resistance as endurance rather than immediate victory. It reminds us that survival movements are not always sprints. Sometimes the work is conserving strength for the long road ahead. And our favorite line was, "We're in it for the long haul," which is a very, very good
kind of sums up publishing and writing and art.
Just everything in general. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's not the destination, it's the journey, and all those generic phrases.
Yeah, and it also is a bit of a message for this whole theme of rest is resistance, that we choose how we're going to handle everything on our own. And and it's not just because today might not look so great. We're here for the long haul.
Yeah.
And we will continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. So we've gone through kind of for anybody that's arrived late, we went through pretty much a brief summary of all of the different stories and poems in issue 150. And so if you're wanting a brief description, feel free to watch the replay of this. I believe in the future we're going to be doing some discussions on each individual one, and kind of what it means to us and why we selected them, and then kind of go from there, to my understanding.
Yeah, that is actually the point of this podcast and why we pick 4 stories and 4 poems, so that we can really focus on one poem and one story per week.
Yeah.
And of course, in the months of 5, it'll be 5 stories, 5 poems.
Yes.
But that was the original goal of this podcast, not to tell you all a bunch of boring news, but there was just so much
There was a lot going on.
news. Yeah, and the first issue had, because it was Poetry Day or Poetry Month, way too much to cover.
Yeah.
And so we're getting into the swing of it now. This
Yes.
is what it's. But I noticed we look really tired right now. I noticed I'm kind of like slumping because we're publishing 150.
Yes.
No, 151.
So there's a lot going on at the moment. But anyway, that is it for the day. Thank you for everybody that stopped by.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time.
Yeah. Next week is 151 that releases, and then we will be talking about that and those stories.
Which is quick.
Yeah.
All right, everybody stay safe. We love your faces, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.